Sure.
Okay, well, this is the Building and Planning Committee and special meeting of the Board of Directors of Kern Valley Healthcare District. It's Tuesday, March 29th. Welcome, everybody. We are called to order. The first order of business is approval of the agenda. And I have an item to add. We need to add a closed session item to discuss one case of potential litigation. This item arose subsequent to the posting of the agenda and requires immediate attention as it is related to the plan of corrections for the pharmacy. So I would like to add that as item GH, new H, and we'll move adjournment to I. Any objections or discussion?
Not at
We
all.
also need to add closed session report.
Thank you, Heidi. You're right. We also need to add closed session report, which will be item H.
That'll be J.
That'll be J.
I, then J.
Okay, because there's two items, right? Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, and remind me, does this approval of the agenda require a vote of the board?
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ross, I'll go ahead and move to approve the agenda with the additions of the closed session items.
Thank you, John. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Fred. Fred, your vote?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And Jean is absent. Okay, this item C, public comment. This portion of our meeting is set aside for members of the public to address this board on items under our jurisdiction, but not on this agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to be heard? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item D, approval of minutes from February 22nd. We'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept them with the changes.
What changes were there, Catherine?
Just didn't we add on?
That was the agenda. That was the minutes.
Oh, that was the agenda. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Let me join the meeting. Hi,
Hi.
let me make a motion to accept the minutes as they are.
Thank you, Catherine.
I'll second, Russ.
Thanks, Fred. Any discussion? Okay, John, your vote.
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And again, Jean is absent. Okay, so that brings us to item E, project update and the master plan. So Tim, Bob.
Okay, so the architect and the engineers have the plans just about complete. They will be submitting on Monday, the 11th. The engineers have to have their portion of the plans to the architect on Friday, the 8th. And they will spend the weekend compiling them, making sure everything is there. And they will submit on Monday, the 11th for the submittal of the plans
That's the full construction.
for the full construction of the seismic upgrade.
So it's actually happening on time.
Yes, it is. I'm assured it will happen.
That is great news.
Yeah. And then as far as the spinoffs of that master plan also is the new building down the street. And the architect is hounding mechanical and electrical for their portion and plans to submit to the county first or second day of next week. So that would be April 8th. No,
Third or fourth?
third or it would be the 4th or 5th.
Okay.
Said they would be submitted to the county.
Okay, Bob, that's great progress.
Yeah.
I got a question, if I
Hi, Gene.
could.
Yeah.
Agent.
There's 9 phases to it. And when we agreed to do it. We agreed that we would have the money before we went forward. Where's the schedule for when to stop and when to start?
Schedule for construction of the phases will have to be put together by the contractor that has awarded the bid.
Well, whenever we agreed to do it, we agreed to start and stop. So how
Right.
can we go ahead and award something? It's crazy what you're doing.
It's
You're
just
gonna
gonna,
bankrupt the hospital.
no, it would be conditional upon the board's approval of each individual phase. That'll have to be in the condition of the agreement, so.
The contract will have to state that all very clearly. That will
I'd
all
like
be,
for us to look into, give us something showing where we're at and what we will be doing. I'm hearing you say it, and it doesn't show up anything. We're not verbatim. It just goes away. So can we get something showing the phases in some type of framework?
We've presented that before.
Okay, can you bring it back to the next meeting, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Bob or Tim?
well, I've still got, the other third of the master plan is the emergency generator piece.
Okay, sorry, John, or Bob, go ahead.
That's okay. The plans came back from HCI. The corrections have been made and they are in first back check at HCI.
Good. So that's our first phase. We moved that to the head of the line, right?
Right.
Right.
Along with the new building, the first basic two phases of the 9. It's phase 1 and 1A of 9 phases.
Okay.
There was one other piece we wanted to make sure we addressed, and that was, it came up in the minutes last time with regards to the last alternate means of compliance. At that point in time, we were still waiting for confirmation that that was to be accepted. And we received notification from HCI that that was in fact approved. They were waiting on-
Yes, and what that was the request during phase 2 to be able to close the front lobby of the hospital so that we can renovate the lobby, put in the ADA restrooms and the admin, we call the admin wing, all as one phase, creating an alternate entrance.
And they have approved that now?
Yes,
When did that come?
I will have to look it up and get it to
I
you.
have it in my office.
Yeah. It was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was at the last meeting. So.
Well, that's really good news. You're full of good news today, Bob.
Well, we're trying to get there.
I was skeptical of the state being true to their word and saying they were going to approve these alternate means of compliance. So I'm thrilled. I think that's great news.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've honored their word. 100% of them are approved.
That's wonderful. Great. I take back every bad thing I ever thought about you.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Bob?
Not on the master plan.
Board, any questions?
Not at this time, Ross.
Okay. And we'll move on to item 2, the clinic cabinet replacement.
Okay, the cabinet maker assures me that the cabinets will be complete by middle of next week. And then I'm going to work with Greg on when we're going to actually do the install. We talked about doing it on the weekends. So yes, anyway, so that's getting very close to actually happening.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Greg's waiting patiently.
Yeah,
It's be a big project. So
it will, and we need to discuss
we'll have to
timing.
close for a day and see when,
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
even if we can close one side on a Friday or something and start the demo or.
Yeah, we close the whole clinic.
Yeah,
That's too much.
noise.
Okay, well, anyway, that's what I need to discuss with you is how we're going to get this accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
It's a lot of work.
So
All
this
right.
cabinets in the individual rooms plus the nursing stations.
Both nursing stations and 6 exam rooms
Got it.
And the kitchen.
and the kitchen. Yes.
Break room.
Be nice to get it all done.
Okay, then item 3, the Hillport sidewalk.
It is done and the helicopters have had several landings and they're quite happy with the nice smooth surface to get back and forth.
Good. That seemed to be a pretty painless process other than locating the contractor for a couple of days, but
Turns out he had COVID.
okay.
Our gurneys are going to be quite a bit happier as well.
Yeah.
Might last a little longer.
Yeah. So it's, anyway, that went well. It looks good. Mr. Vega did a very good job.
Bless you, Ross.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Bob? All right. Number 4, the dietary water heater. Number 2.
Yes, so permits issued, notice of start of construction has happened. The order for the equipment has been placed and demolition has started. And we have I got the order just about ready. Well, I don't have it ready. Emily has it ready for all the different piping and fittings and various things that we need to get ordered this week. So that is well on its way. It'll take several months. There's a lot of tedious pipe fitting on that.
Who's doing the work on that? Is that your staff?
Yes, my staff are doing it.
So we're using the outside inspector on this one?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
Was that part of what Greenbow was doing anyway?
No, that has no scope of, no overlap with the master project.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the Pixis installation, number 5.
Okay, I believe, let's see, I think the second refrigerator arrived this week. Does anybody know, are all the actual main units here?
They're in the gift shop.
Yeah, well, I know, but are they all? I haven't gone in there and inventoried.
I believe the last piece we were waiting for was that refrigerator which showed up yesterday.
Right, because there should be 3 of the
There
short
are-
towers
there
and
are-
2 of the tall towers.
There's 3 short towers in there.
Then we're still lacking the 2 large towers. The tall towers are still on their way. I'm going to do a notice of start of construction. We're doing that one also in-house with my staff. We'll do a notice of start of construction with HCI next week. And we've got some electrical circuits and data circuits to run for surgery. And then we have mounting plates in 3 locations to install. And that is basically the scope of work. It should go relatively quickly.
So is this Pixis installation, I thought it was just one device in one location. It sounds like it's 3 different locations?
It's 3. And there's in the acute care, there is one tall tower and the short to master control tower that has the computer on it and a refrigerator in acute care. In ER medroom, there is the tall tower, the short tower, and a refrigerator. And in surgery recovery, there is just the small short tower.
All right. I didn't realize that. Thank you, Bob. Questions or comments for Bob? All righty. Then number 6, the pharmacy HVAC.
Okay, that's going very well. If you've been by here, you'll see that the pad for the air conditioning unit was poured late last week. Because of the rain, we had to hold off pouring the concrete on either side from Monday till tomorrow morning. Well, bringing up the equipment and mounting it on the pad Friday or Monday, depending on the contractor, but he had said he could come up Friday. And once the equipment is mounted, we'll start fabricating the ductwork. The HEPA filter box is in our shop. I'm adding the required points to the box for monitoring filter changes and stuff that's requested by Oshpod HCI. So that is, there appears to be nothing that's going to hold us up from getting that completed in a timely fashion. I've already bought all the materials to do the window infill. I've got those in our storage room ready to go. I am waiting on just some unistrut for mounts of the ductwork that should be here later this week.
So what do you think, if everything goes according to what you've planned, when will that be completed?
I hope to be able to turn it on in somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks.
Okay,
There's a substantial amount of fabrication and mounting of, because again, it's a hospital, the mounting of everything is just way over the top.
sure.
Like that pad out there.
Yeah, like that massive 18-inch thick pad to mount a little 3-ton air conditioner.
It's ridiculous.
So do you have to coat the inside of the ductwork with anything special because of the mold issues?
No, the ductwork, the inside of the ductwork will be smooth, galvanized sheet metal on the outside and stainless steel up on the inside of the pharmacy.
Okay.
The insulation of the ducts is done on the exterior of the duct so that there's no possibility of mold growth.
Great. Questions, comments?
I mean, I don't know who puts the updates together, but on the regular pharmacy, there's no updates. Can we talk about that?
Yes, Gene.
Okay,
We'll include that as part of this discussion.
okay. How is that coming, Bob?
Well, obviously, as you know, the parking lot is done. And I did have a discussion with Tim about proceeding with our curbside pickup. And he wants to get our new pharmacist on board that's going to be down there to work that out with as how he wants to, or he or she wants to do it. Right, Tim?
That's correct.
Yeah. So
How is it coming, Tim? I mean, you've had a month to think about it. Have you talked to her at all?
We're hiring a new pharmacist in charge for the retail. We haven't selected anybody for that position yet.
I thought that girl was doing it.
No, she's doing it up here at the hospital.
Okay, okay. So just sit and wait.
Yeah, we've got 4 candidates already that she's reviewing their resumes right now. So hopefully it won't take us too long to figure that one out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Now, was the foundation is complete? It was all poured for the HVAC?
yes. That was poured last week. It's obviously right outside the door here of the conference room.
Bob, you
Yeah,
might want to explain, there's a couple more
Well, that's
components to the pour.
That's my question. I saw it today.
Right.
But didn't you earlier just say that we were waiting now because you have 2 more sides that have to be poured or something?
On both sides of the support pad, we have concrete to pour between the pad and the building and the pad and the sidewalk so that it becomes a smooth surface.
Okay, so I'd like to see those type of reflections, because when we're reading this, it looks like the foundation's completely poured. And it's not. So if those can be changed and updated, I would appreciate that, because it looks, if I was to go back and read it and my mind's the way it is some days, I'm not going to remember that we're still in the process of pouring. So
Understood. Well, the statement is not false. The foundation for the HVAC unit is 100% done. The
okay,
peripheral.
but here's the thing. This isn't the whole thing that for the site is not completely poured for it to be done, right?
No, he indicated before.
You are right in saying that the site work concrete has not been poured. It would have been poured by this meeting except for the rain. So it will be poured tomorrow morning.
Okay. I mean, I get what you're saying, but the more I read these things, the more they're questionable to me. Like plans are approved for the HCI and about 2/3 of the equipment has arrived. Well, what's 2/3? We have 6 pieces ordered and 3 of them are here. I'd like it to be a little more detailed in my benefit because anybody that reads this isn't going to be the ones that are always going to be listening to what you say. So there's not going to be any explanation. I would just like them to be more, I don't know. I don't want to say the word accurate because, I mean, yeah, more scriptive, more detailed, because I just think for me, that would make and I'm just one of 5 and one of a community of many, but I just think it would help me stay on track more.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the pharmacy? Okay, then we'll move to item 7, the train project.
Okay, so the last component of the work is done. The fire marshal is scheduled for April 12th at 11 o'clock, along with the fire alarm contractor and train. We have to test the fire alarm system installation, and we have to test the Freon leak detection shutdown. In other words, if there's a leak of Freon in the room, it must shut down all the equipment. And we have to actually perform that test. And once the fire marshal has witnessed those 2 tests, he will recommend the project for closure.
Is the fire marshal Kern County or is that a state position?
State position, HCI.
Okay.
His name is Lauren DeArmond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions or comments for Bob on train? All right, then Bob or Tim, if you can walk us through item F, the various invoices there.
Let Bob do that. Like I said, what we've got included on here for each of the invoices that comes in is the new sign-off sheet that I believe Dave and Bob worked out to make sure that we get signatures from everybody before that's paid.
Yeah,
And so that was part of what we talked about last month. So this is what that design will look like.
And this form that, is that you had attached, there was a recommendation made, and the next go around, there will be a date box next to each person to sign off. That's a good idea, so that we know whether it's being held up by any one entity. But to go through these quickly, there is the invoice from Radian Design is the first invoice on the building down the street. And so their contract price is $23,210. And they're billing for $9,167 with a $14,042 outlying yet. So this is first invoice on the new building. So we just have it here to review quickly. If there's any questions that can be brought up, and then of course we'll get the last signatures that we need on it and process them for payment.
Sorry, I have looked at them, so don't go through them for my benefit because I have seen them.
All right, yeah. So what we have then is I'll just kind of gloss over it. On the pharmacy HVAC, there's basically their first invoice on that project. The Pyxis replacement, we have 2 invoices, which basically gets us to, I believe it's a zero. Yes, a zero balance owed with these 2 invoices. That's because the plans are approved and we're in construction. And then we dietary water heater number 1. This is the final billing on a project that is now closed with HCI. So it brings the amount owed to 0. And the dietary water heater number 2, of course, is still is just starting construction. And so this leaves a balance to finish from the architect's original bid price of $4,083. And then the Ansel system, we finally got closed in the kitchen with HCI. And actually, that was an emergency rush project. I don't remember if you remember this because it's so old, but basically they're just billing us $1,450. The reason it's not very expensive is actually the company called Jorgensen draws the plans, but Jorgensen is not willing to submit to HCI, doesn't understand their processes. So we hired the architect to overstamp Jorgensen's plans and submit them to HCI. All right, and then we have, of course, 3 invoices on the seismic retrofit, which gets us to a bottom line on the $1,128,810 of still $349,082 owed. That's because obviously we're just going into first plan review. And so that additional monies is to do all of the responses and changes that come out of plan review. And that is the invoices.
Any questions or comments for Bob?
I just have one. Invoice 669 is dated from November of 21, and we're just now getting it to all of us for review and payment.
I do not know why. But yes, that is a true statement.
27.
Okay. So we're 5 months out is why I'm questioning.
Which is a lot closer than we used to be.
I can check with Barbara and get back to you tomorrow on what she knows about why it took so long.
Okay. Yeah, I just see that it was received in our system November 23rd is why I'm questioning.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so there's no objection from the board that these be paid then, correct?
So I will sign these off then. And who from the board do you want to sign off? John is here. You want him to sign them or?
I'm good with that. If you're okay, John.
Okay, if the board wants me to, yes, I can sign them.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with it, sort of.
Okay.
You want me to write your name, Gene? Just
No, yes, yeah, right, John Parks.
Junior. Okay, then item G, the status of the water line from the Kissick tank.
Okay, I believe I reported on that at the last meeting that we have to wait to see whether Mr. Kissick is willing to kind of redo the well. And obviously I haven't heard anything, but I've been kind of busy with all this other stuff and haven't reached out to him to see if he has a time frame on which he might do that. But at this point, I think we should, just know that there's that possibility and continue to touch bases with Mr. Kissick, Scott Kissick, occasionally to see where we're at.
So Bob, you remember that the concept here wasn't necessarily for landscaping irrigation. It was for water for the chillers, because we apparently go through a whole lot of water for the chillers and it doesn't have to be potable water. And so this was maybe a cheaper alternative than to buying potable water for chillers. So I don't know if that has any bearing on the availability of his system to handle that, but I just wanted to refresh why we were going after this in the first place.
Well, my understanding was it was something that Gene Parks brought up, that it is a good idea, but I thought it was more for irrigation. Now, that being said, the water for the cooling tower doesn't have to be potable, but it does have to be softened and treated. So it goes through a water softener in the central plant. And we would have to bring a water line of approximately 1 inch diameter from all the way around the facility to the far end here where the central plant is. Be a bit challenging, not impossible, but the cost would probably be fairly prohibitive.
Okay.
So there's not a line that goes from that back street that could be taken down the side street?
I do need to reach out to Scott to see where that particular water tank feeds. Does it only feed to the ballpark? which is currently all it's used for. And I will reach out to Scott and find out, because if that water line were to come around through the streets as non-potable water, that would then not be as long of a run. So I will reach out to Scott.
Gene, were there
Yes,
other details?
Scott called me by mistake on my cell phone, and I mentioned that, and I also mentioned the fire hydrant that's right behind where we're talking about using it, which wouldn't be very easy to go ahead and do it. And he said next time he comes up, he's going to look at that fire hydrant behind the hospital there, where it would be most advantageous to hook in. He says he thinks he can do it, and he thinks he's going to go ahead and increase his well output so he could accommodate both of us. But he's just like Bob said, he's thinking about it. But if he looks at the fire hydrant and says we can tap in there, Bob, wouldn't that be a good place?
Yeah, yes, that's one thing. When I call him, I want to verify. Does he have dual lines in the street? In other words, is he feeding the fire hydrant from the non-potable water source, which Tim and I discussed that. And if that is true, it also brings up another concern that when they're watering in the summertime of the ballpark and they run out of water, do we have no fire hydrants?
That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, he thought it was possible to hook in from the fire hydrant. So
Right.
if he's willing to give us that,
That would make it a lot
we should
easier.
look at it.
Yeah,
It'd make it a lot
we
easier.
certainly can. So I will reach out to Scott and get that clarified.
Thanks, Bob. Any other questions or comments on that item?
Is that anything that, Bob, we might have to have conversation with the fire department or fire district?
Well, we would have to have a conversation with HCI.
Yeah.
Because tying in a critical system of the hospital to a different water source would require permitting.
Yeah, no question about that.
Yeah.
I know originally when we looked at that water source, what Scott had told me was that, he was primarily looking to use it for the irrigation out front, just because he said this is the most beautiful lawn in Kern Valley up here. And just really thought it did wonders for the hospital and so forth. So he says it was great, kind of use, we don't have to use our water that we use now. So it was like an opportunity for us to cut some costs and so forth. But, again, the tower issue wasn't discussed when we talked about it. So.
But the other thing that I'm a little concerned at is I was watching the news the last couple of days, and our governor has passed a bill or something, signed some documents that no businesses can water lawns that are there strictly for a decorative purpose. So we may have dead lawns anyway, depending on how much that enforcement happens.
Well, I think we're
Are we using our treated water for that?
No, we that has never been set up to do. We would take some research and working with the state water board as to whether our treatment plant produces water that can be used for irrigation. Again, another option that could be looked at.
Yeah. Where does that water go then? Just into those seepage pits?
Yep. It eventually ends up down at the lake, all filtered out through the soil, and it's nice, clean water again.
Okay.
I'm concerned with some of the other restrictions that they might be looking to impose on watering.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
They're looking at some major restrictions on watering. So I'm kind of looking to see how that pans out with our governor in the state of California.
Have we modified, again, I know the governor put in place, watering only 3 days a week and things like that. Have we adjusted our system?
Let me check with Greg. I forgot to ask him. We obviously have time clocks that can be adjusted many different ways, and we can certainly only water 3 days. Well, for most of the winter, we've had them off.
Right.
Because there's, between the rain and everything, we've just basically in the wintertime, we turn our irrigation off. But we recently just turned it on, and I will verify that we're not doing more than 3 days a week.
Yeah, I don't want to get fined on top of what it costs us, right?
Yeah.
No, not worth it. Okay, then that brings us to item H, which is the closed session for an item of potential litigation. So if we could convene into closed session.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn into closed session at 1:37.
Thanks, John.
Or are we to leave?
Okay, we have reconvened to our meeting, adjourned our closed session. And I'd like to report the actions taken during the closed session. In closed session, the board discussed one case of potential litigation and no other items were discussed. So that takes us to item H on the, I'm sorry, I've lost track of the numbers, HI, J for adjournment. So folks, we are adjourned. We will see you in next 10 days or so for our board meeting on a Monday afternoon. Thank you
Stay
all.
safe,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Finance tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Gene.
I'll probably swing by for finance tomorrow.
Okay.
I missed the last two.